welcome to Euromonitor International's Fashion Friday podcast. I'm Nina, a senior luxury and fashion analyst based in Euromonitor International's London office. I'm joined today by fellow senior luxury and fashion analyst Benjamin and beauty and fashion analyst Jitong, based in Euromonitor's Chicago office. Hello, Jitong. Hi, Benjamin. How are you both?
Hi, Nina.
Hi, Nina. Doing well. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Okay, let's jump right into it. We're seeing a lot of buzz about the Metaverse right now. It seems like the whole fashion industry is talking about it, with everyone from Kering to Nike to H&M trying to get into the space, literally and figuratively. So, can you tell me, what exactly is the Metaverse?
Yeah, well, just to try to put it simply, the Metaverse is basically like the future version of the internet as we know it today, where our 2D screens are going to be replaced with 3D virtual spaces. And we're going to share and access these spaces mostly with AR and VR equipment. So in the Metaverse, people are going to interact with one another and explore these virtual spaces as avatars. And what our avatars wear and what they look like are going to be a pretty crucial part of our online identity, just like how what we wear and what we look like is a real important part of our identity here in the real world. So because of this, consumers are going to purchase virtual goods, including both mass market and more exclusive NFT virtual clothing for their avatars to wear and to have.
Fascinating. And in the past year especially, I've heard a lot about Web3, or the future version of the internet, as you called it. But I know that people have been talking about digital clothing and assets from before the pandemic. So why do you think it's so relevant at this cultural moment?
Yeah, well, we're definitely hearing a lot of buzz about the metaverse now. But this term was actually first used in a science fiction novel in the 1990s. So people have been talking about the metaverse for a while. And in the years since then, not only have VR worlds and avatars and other aspects of the metaverse are still a staple of science fiction, and we saw like shows like Black Mirror really dive into these topics. But now these are actually a part of some consumers' everyday lives, pretty much because of the pandemic. Because a lot of consumers stuck at home throughout the pandemic really accelerated the growth in the use of a lot of the platforms that are now kind of underlying the growing metaverse. Especially emerging digital native consumers. Because a lot of young people weren't able to meet their friends in person, they turned instead to immersive video sharing and live streaming social platforms like TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. At the same time that the popularity of online and VR games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and Roblox, all of which will probably only become more immersive as AR and VR technology becomes more accessible, has really exploded in popularity. And I definitely want to add that it's not just young consumers on these platforms. While a lot of them are at home with their families, they talked about their experiences on these platforms, and they enticed their older generations to try out the metaverse too. So as a result of that, a lot of the world's leading tech companies recently announced some pretty large-scale investments in virtual reality, in gaming, and in some other metaverse-related technologies. So just to give a couple of examples, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and Oculus VR, which is, probably the most accessible and widespread consumer-facing VR tool at the moment, changed its name to Meta in October 2021, really signifying that the company formerly known as Facebook is now really focused on the metaverse instead. And similarly, Microsoft recently agreed to buy a video game company, Activision Blizzard, which owns games like Candy Crush and the World of Warcraft, for nearly $69 billion. And more recently, Sony announced that it was buying another game company, really showing that video games are a big moneymaker for tech companies these days. And the reason being is that online multiplayer games are really the center of social life for a lot of consumers now. And with the Microsoft Teams and AR VR, which is going to feature avatars and immersive virtual meeting spaces, also expected to launch in 2022, it's clear that Microsoft and a lot of other tech companies too are really moving their entire suite of technologies into the metaverse now.
Wow, that's really interesting. Benjamin and Jitong, would you use avatar in a Microsoft Teams meeting?
Yeah, I actually think using an avatar would make it a little more lifelike than just having 2D image of someone on the video. At least then we could actually like look around the room and see each other's body languages, things like that. So I think it might be a little hard to get used to at first, but it actually seems like more real to me than how Microsoft Teams meetings are right now, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. What about you, Jitong?
Yeah, I would say I will use it, especially when I'm not ready for opening my camera, like without the makeup, that kind of things. I prefer to use an avatar.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. That I love the idea of it because like I mean I like the idea of my work life so separated from my personal life anyway. So I feel that would give me like, I don't know, a different way to be a different person at work versus at home. But I think, definitely as a society, both for work and for leisure, because of the pandemic, we're all relying so much more on the internet, including the metaverse, non-gamers and gamers alike, for entertainment, services, and even work, as you mentioned. But going back to the fashion industry, I've seen that players such as Carlings and the Fabricant have been exploring digital fashion for a while. But as I mentioned earlier, now many more players are jumping on board. So, why is the metaverse a particular focus for fashion players right now? Who are the key players and what are they up to?
Well, as we know, the fashion industry has paid a lot of attention to technologies like 3D printing and wearable devices. Technology is critical in pushing this industry's development, and the metaverse is enabled by multiple technologies. So, fashion players would like to blend the metaverse with fashion. And also, entering the metaverse will make additional revenues for companies. Currently, most of the fashion industry's investments in metaverse are through video game skins. And according to Euromonitor, the global sales of video games are about $175 billion in 2021. Fashion players don't need to buy raw materials, spend money on labor or transportation to make the digital items. So entering the metaverse is an opportunity for the fashion industry to get extra money. And another factor I would like to mention is fashion players' increasing demands for connecting with customers. During the pandemic, many brands like Prada and Balenciaga, they have moved their fashion shows online, and consumers were pushed to purchase fashion items online. Entering the metaverse is regarded as an effective way to connect with and advertise to customers online.
What's your take on it, Benjamin?
Well, a few of the world's biggest names in both mass market and luxury fashion have partnered with online game platforms and offered NFTs and other virtual goods for sale in recent months. I think that as the metaverse continues to take shape, we can expect to see a lot more brands across industries, not just in fashion, really try to meet consumers in the metaverse, especially as spending in some of the most valuable consumer markets, such as the USD $1.7 trillion global apparel and footwear market, for example, increasingly shift to fully virtual goods and experiences. So throughout 2021, a ton of different brands, including Gucci, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Forever 21, Vans, and Nike, all partnered with Roblox, which is an online game platform and game creation system that allows users to actually play games that were created by other users on the platforms. Many of the fashion industry's Roblox and partnerships on other metaverse platforms too have really varied in size and scope. Usually, they've seen either the offering of exclusive NFTs or more plentiful and affordable virtual products, both of which can be worn by users' avatars, for sale through either brand-owned or user-created virtual stores. At the same time, a lot of brands have hosted branded virtual spaces where users' avatars can, meet and socialize. Because the purpose of a lot of these games isn't like to finish a journey or to achieve some goal as a lot of people might think of video games, but really the purpose is just to hang out with their friends as they're there. So being in like a branded space can really help create some positive brand associations. And I think a great example of this is Nike, which is the global market leader in apparel and footwear. So Nike has increasingly been investing in virtual spaces and virtual fashion as part of its digital transformation and consumer direct acceleration strategy. So, just in the past few months, the company has filed a range of trademark applications for virtual trainers and other products, and it also created Nike Land, which was, like I described, an immersive 3D space on Roblox where people could hang out, kind of play sports games, and just like be immersed in the virtual Nike world, if you will. And then in December, Nike made a huge investment in the metaverse by acquiring Artifact, which is a leading creator of NFT sneakers and is kind of thought to be like an atelier of virtual goods.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about Nike acquiring Artifact, which I think is likely because of Nike's incredibly powerful position and track record of growth, like through innovation. So Nike getting into the space definitely solidifies the idea that the metaverse is a pretty lucrative opportunity. And with all these players getting into metaverse activities, it seems that many of them are starting to build a presence in the metaverse with video games like Roblox, as you mentioned. And I'm therefore wondering, what is the target audience for fashion players in the metaverse? Like, who are these target consumers? What entertains them and what motivates them? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I would say younger consumers, including Generation Z and the next generation of consumers, Generation Alpha, they are the target consumers of the fashion players in the metaverse. Younger consumers, they already had a high degree of digital adoption before the pandemic, and the pandemic has accelerated their move to the digital world. According to Euromonitor's lifestyle survey in 2021, compared with other generations, Generation Z has spent more time on mobile games during the pandemic, and they consider their avatars as an extension of themselves. So they would be the first adopter of the video game skins developed by fashion players. Additionally, most Generation Z may not have money to buy the latest luxury products in the physical world, but they can spend much fewer dollars to buy a digital version in the metaverse. So this will help fashion players to significantly expand their customer base beyond traditional shoppers. And also, for young conscious consumers, their desire to be environmentally friendly will motivate their adoption of digital fashion. According to Euromonitor's survey 2021, about 41% of Generation Z try to have a positive impact on the environment through their everyday actions. So they may purchase digital fashion to reduce the environmental impacts of buying physical products. While at the same time, this will still meeting the demand for fresh looks, particularly for their social media feeds.
Yeah, really great points. Speaking of Gen Alpha, when I was home in Jamaica for the holidays, we gave my 9-year-old cousin a few different gifts like clothes and toys. But honestly, she was just buzzing about the Roblox gift card we got her and the different things she would buy for her avatar, like skins or accessories. And I just found this so fascinating. As we've discussed, however, there are lots of brands across the mass and luxury sectors trying to get involved, and it seems like everyone is doing something different. How are brands deciding on what strategy to pursue, and how are they negotiating price points?
That's a really great question, Nina. So it seems to me that companies right now are just experimenting with the different platforms, and they're trying to learn more about the different consumers on them. Brands are right now just trying to determine if they want to make the metaverse more of a brand builder or a revenue driver for them, at least in the short and medium terms. So, for example, Fortnite and Kering's Balenciaga brand produced a collection of both virtual and physical fashion products in what was actually Fortnite's first partnership with a luxury brand. So the virtual Balenciaga designed game skins were offered for sale for between 1,200 and 1,500 V-Bucks, which is Fortnite's currency. And that's about 10 or so US dollars. And these were for sale inside of a virtual Balenciaga store inside of the Fortnite platform. Meanwhile, while that was going on, there were physical versions of the Fortnite logoed products offered for sale online and in physical Balenciaga stores for several $100s, so same as Balenciaga's usual price points. And a lot of these designs quickly sold out. Similarly to that, Gucci hosted a virtual space on Roblox in May 2021, which it called the Gucci Garden Experience. It was open for only 14 days, and users could explore the space as a mannequin that kind of changed colors as it explored. At the same time, this hosted a store where visitors could purchase limited edition items for their avatars inside of Roblox.
It seems like Gucci is trying to do a lot of different things in this space. Can you tell me a little bit more about their metaverse initiatives?
Yeah, Gucci has already offered various virtual products for sale at a wide range of price points and has really established itself as a first mover across the metaverse market. So Gucci launched the Virtual 25 sneaker in March 2021, which was a few months earlier than a lot of brands got into the metaverse. This was an AR or VR sneaker that was for sale as an in-app purchase in the Gucci and the Wanna AR apps. And you could also use it in an app like Snapchat, for example. And this was for sale for only $17.99. Meanwhile, Gucci has sought to position its higher priced, more exclusive NFTs not as mere virtual products, but as fine digital art. Recently, Gucci launched a collection with digital collectible company Super Plastic, consisting of 10 limited edition NFT artworks inspired by Gucci's signature designs and patterns. And these were available for 1.5 Ethereum, or maybe between 3 and 4,000 US dollars.
From what I've read and from what you're saying, Gucci's metaverse activities currently seem to be more about buzz and experimentation rather than producing a steady stream of income, which is smart, I think, as it's such a new domain for fashion. One thing I am curious about, though, is whether different regions are seeing different developments in terms of trends, brand activations, or product launches. For example, what's happening in China? And even beyond China, what are we seeing? Are there any standout examples over the past year? And are we seeing more metaverse focused or other digitally enhanced events to do with like augmented reality or virtual reality, for instance?
Yeah. As Ben has mentioned, many brands like Gucci and Stella McCartney, they have collaborated with the metaverse and gaming platform Roblox. Well, this platform has been released for more than 15 years in the United States, but the Chinese version was not available until July 2021. So I would say the Metaverse is an emerging concept in the Chinese fashion industry, but it's growing fast. For example, the Chinese company Star Air Technology, it was founded in 2021. It develops virtual characters for the metaverse. And just recently, this company launched a brand, Meta Street Market, which is the first digital fashion brand in China. This brand has released a limited digital collection, Tiger Step, for the Chinese New Year. And also beyond China, we have seen more and more events focusing on fashion in the metaverse. For example, a Metaverse Fashion Week will be hosted by the 3D virtual world platform, Decentraland, in March 2022.
Yeah, I know they hosted the first metaverse-only fashion show last May. I also heard about Decentraland recently, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. Another thing I'm curious about, though, is whether there are any categories that are like specifically poised to benefit. Can you tell me a little bit more about your findings on this?
I think that one industry that really is in a great position to benefit this is the eyewear industry. Because over-eye AR/VR devices are going to be pretty vital to accessing the immersive digital worlds of the metaverse, I really think that existing eyewear players have the opportunity to establish themselves as consumers' gateway to the metaverse, if you will. Already ahead of the curve on this, Samsung patented smart AR contact lenses equipped with cameras way back in 2016. And more recently, in September 2021, Facebook, or now Meta, and Ray-Ban launched Ray-Ban Stories. These are smart glasses that enable users to not only listen to music and take phone calls like some other smart glass products that are currently on the market, but with these, they can also capture live content with built-in cameras and microphones, and then post the photos and the videos they take wearing the glasses directly to various social media apps via a new app called Facebook View.
That's really cool. I wasn't interested in smart glasses before, but I think I could be now the new target audience. And all of this sounds so exciting, but we know that the fashion world is obsessed with newness and hype, obviously. But in light of this, is it possible then that the metaverse is just a lot of hype? Or do we see this as a veritable long-term trend? What are both your perspectives?
I'm positive about the long-term development of metaverse fashion in China, as I have seen many efforts made by the industry and organizations. In addition to the development I've mentioned earlier, a research center of fashion technology and metaverse has just been founded in China about 1 month ago. This research center will focus on technologies, copyrights, and as well as education.
Yeah, I definitely agree in the long-term potential of the metaverse too. Younger digital native consumers are already spending a significant amount of time on metaverse platforms, and I think they're going to continue to do so. As time goes on and these platforms become even more popular, interactive, and immersive with the development and increase in accessibility of AR and VR, new users are going to become even younger and younger as more activities are done and a greater amount of time is spent as avatars in virtual worlds.
I like the optimism. If the metaverse is indeed a long term development, what are the opportunities for fashion players in the forecast period? Are there any specific factors brands should take into consideration when creating digital fashion for the metaverse? Should fast fashion take a different strategy to luxury players, for example?
Yeah, so I think that all brands, but especially luxury brands, should really think long and hard about how their presence in the metaverse fits into their wider brand universe. For example, they need to ask themselves questions like how do the customers that they attract in the metaverse complement the ones that they would attract with print media or social media or with their physical stores? And similarly, how do their virtual products, in terms of the style and the price and the availability, complement their physical ones? I think the most successful brands are going to cast the widest demographic net across both physical and the digital worlds, at the same time that they always deliver a consistent and aspirational brand experience across all touch points. But these have to be tailored to each individual consumer and each touch point.
What do you think, Jitong?
I think the metaverse should be a great opportunity for fashion players. Well, there are some issues that fashion players should take into consideration, like the technical issues, marketing issues, and talent issues. The fashion players should think about how to make their brand image in the metaverse consistent with that in the real world. And also, they should be prepared for various technical issues to satisfy user experiences and make sure they have sufficient talents to support their metaverse strategy.
I agree with you both. I think for brands, the aim should really be to create authentic brand extensions and providing like different services and experience that educate and create entertainment and a sense of community while still interconnecting the physical and the digital realities and identities of consumers. I think it's also super important that brands should make sure not to neglect other initiatives to do with environmental or social responsibility causes on the physical side of the brand. But, as we wrap this up now, my final question is what are you both excited about in terms of the possibilities for digital fashion and or the metaverse?
I think what I'm most excited to do in the metaverse is to virtually travel around the world without ever having to get on a plane. And I'd really love to, virtually try out some local and heritage clothing on my travels, like wearing some lederhosen to a virtual Oktoberfest, for example. On the other hand, I definitely hope that the ability to try on an unlimited amount of virtual clothing is going to make consumers feel a little less inclined to consume as much fast fashion and other physical fashion products in the real world, or at least that it might encourage them to shop resale instead.
Yeah, that's super cool. I agree, Benjamin. I actually read a book where in the year 3000, people put in these special lenses and travel back in time to Viking Iceland as a form of entertainment. And as a complete history nerd, I think that's so cool to kind of create that level of immersion and try on the clothing and live the day in the life of a Viking, existing like authentically in that reality. What about you, Jitong?
I think it will be a good place to save all my outfits and memory. But normally, we cannot have all clothing, all the items since our childhood with us or stored them at one place. Since I moved to the United States in 2015, I have relocated for a couple of times, and I felt so bad when I had to throw away some of my apparel and footwear. So for me, clothing is not only the physical products, but also the carrier of my experience and memory. I'm excited about Metaverse as I may be able to save all my outfits and my memory in the Metaverse and take them with me to anywhere around the world.
I think that that's really poetic and meaningful to have like a memory archive of, your different clothing. But honestly, I cringe at all my past fashion choices. And I find that Facebook and Instagram torture me enough. But really cool points, both of you. Really exciting stuff. On that note, thank you to everyone for listening to our discussion today. To access more of our insights and analyses, go to Euromonitor.com and be sure to check out our report, Apparel and Footwear Beyond the Pandemic.